Do you think AI is going to take over our jobs? I think that's the biggest thing people are worried about.
I don't know about you, but I don't know many people who are completely on top of their to-do list, i.e. smashing it. I've got nothing to do at the end of the day, right? We've all got a ton of stuff that we don't get to. See, AI is about getting your head back above the water because it's taking the edge off some of those more administrative tasks that you might have to do so that you can shift your focus on the more strategic value add things that actually require human brain and humans think about. But again, with the support of AI, I think what I love to do and what we're doing in our legal team is, we might ask AI to do a first draft of a policy, right? That doesn't mean that's the policy that goes live. That just means your brain starts working like, and then you become an editor, right?
CRN TV is connecting you with the industry leaders who are protecting us from the latest security threats. Join me, Cass Cooper, as we highlight the expertise of women who are driving innovation and solving today's toughest cyber challenges. Welcome to Channel Women in Security. Hello, everyone out there in the world. This is Channel Women in Security. My name is Cass Cooper, and I am very excited for our guest today. A lot of us, most of us, I would say all of us are familiar with the Pax8 marketplace and what they do and are building in the cloud for the channel. And I have a very unique opportunity to talk with someone from their team today. I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself, Michelle. Tell us a little bit about your role at Pax8 and how it relates to security, cybersecurity, and specifically legal compliance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hi, I'm Michelle Correia. I'm VP of Legal at Pax8. I generally support the EMEA region, but I'm also the Global Data Privacy Officer and look after privacy and AI across the business. So it really sort of backs off against the trust and security team that takes care of the cybersecurity, but leaning more into the sort of data and privacy aspects of AI in particular and how we use it and other sort of data usage in the business. So really kind of a lot of work to do at the moment on just making sure we're ready for all the stuff that's happening in AI world and other things around data.
Yeah, AI is it's everywhere, right? And we all know that AI is not new. It's been around since, the early part of the 20th century. And there's so many different things and ways that it's been used. But having it come to the general public is newer for all of us. So tell us about, what do you see happening with AI specifically in terms of like the partners and how they're going to need to protect data and be more secure because of the use of AI?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think it just seems to have just really leveled up, right, in the pace that AI is coming at us with different functionality and different use cases that just seems to have changed monumentally in the last 18 months alone. And the additional functionality you get on existing tools and the stuff that we can do now is just so exciting. And, like even with Copilot, every wave is like there's just a ton of new functionality, right? So it's really being ready for that. And it can be quite overwhelming. I remember sitting in an AI working group that we had at Pax8, and it was just a complete geek fest on all the exciting things we can do with AI. And in the back of my mind, I'm seeing all this legislation cropping up and being proposed globally that's quite overwhelming and scary. So there's a lot to think about in how you build responsible AI systems and use AI in a responsible way, as well as any other use of data, right? So it was really like, how do we get a handle on this? Because the last thing you want to do as a partner or anyone in the channel is spend a lot of time and resource investing in AI, only to then have to kind of strip it all out because the legislation comes in and you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. So how do you get ahead of it so that you can feel confident in what you're building and using is going to be future-proofed against some of that legislation coming in? So at Pax8, we really started to think about, how do we build a framework that gets us thinking about the right things early so that we can do that in a responsible way, which is why we built our compliance framework, which is really kind of a foundation ahead of the legislation that's coming in so that we can be ready for any variation of the legislation that's coming in.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that foundation, because legal compliance law, when it comes to security and data, especially in EMEA, is not new. This is something that governments have been had a hand in protecting the people that use technology. So talk a little bit about some of those frameworks that already exist that maybe partners need to know about if they're utilizing AI as a tool.
Well, I think so a lot of the AI legislation coming in, most of it isn't in effect yet. A few pieces are. So a lot of it's sort of in the future, which makes it a little bit more overwhelming because you don't know what's coming. All the privacy regulation that's already in is a massive part of AI because it's all based on data usage, right? And it's a lot of personal data, especially that are in these different tools and systems. So that's already there. So we already have these duties to keep records, be transparent, and be, you know, really clear on how we're doing certain things. And those are responsibilities we have now already. And a lot of the legislation that's coming in is about the risk profiles around the different use cases you can have. And a lot of it is about record keeping and how you're being transparent with it and how you're protecting data as it goes through those AI systems. And it's kind of sort of privacy in mind, privacy by design in the functionality of a responsible AI system. And that can be quite overwhelming if you're building it to know what those are.
Yeah. So, let's just talk about you for a little bit. So, as a woman who is in, I don't like to use the term male dominated. I like to use an industry that is overrepresented with men, and twofold in the channel and technology, cybersecurity, but then also the legal field. How has that shaped the way that you operate on a day-to-day operational business case? Being in those two roles and straddling those worlds is interesting to me, not just because of your intellect, but also because it's such a niche area to know about.
I think it is. And I think actually, for me, I find it quite empowering. I think the type of role that I have that's legal and compliance, and as a woman, you feel very empowered, right? Because you are in this niche role where you're delivering, you know, a niche sort of intelligence on compliance aspects, right? So for me, the bit I find most difficult about my role is making compliance sound less compliancy, right? And making it sound more interesting and something that's easy to implement, because it actually can be. So, you know, with the AI compliance program, for example, my role really was to take really complex pieces of legislation and turn it into a very simple framework that everybody could read and understand and go, that makes sense, we know what to do now. So that kind of transition between the compliance, you know, everyone kind of does this at compliance, right? But if you make it really tangible and easy to understand, it changes everything. So my goal is not to be the smartest person in the room. My goal is to explain things in a very simple way so that everybody understands it.
Yeah, I when we had a previous guest, Tia Hopkins, and she was talking about you can't talk in bits and bytes when your shareholders and your stakeholders are talking in dollars and cents. And it sounds like you have a little bit of that same kind of mindset of we have to break things down so that they are plain and clear and we understand the impact. Because you're right, the word compliance makes all of us kind of clam up of like, oh, I'm doing something, like it's almost like you feel like you're in trouble. Like, what did I do wrong? And it's really more about like safeguarding and protecting us and making sure that we're doing the right things from the jump. So let's talk a little bit more about Pax8 and some of the challenges maybe that you've had. So like when it comes to new laws and legislations that are coming down, not just specifically with AI, but like when something happens, like how are y'all integrating that into the marketplace for partners? Or even just utilizing it internally for yourself so that you make sure that you're protecting not just the products that are available, but the people who are using your platform and your marketplace.
Right, absolutely. And this is the thing with the compliance framework is that if you think about AI usage, it's our internal enablement and how we can be safe using it internally, how we can educate and help our partners to use it in a safe way, and then also the sort of go-to-market side of it, right? And how do we enable the channel to embrace AI, because we can't hide from it. So it's been really interesting. And there's been like definitely some tough bits in that the sheer pace that it's coming in means you kind of had to scramble. We've built this 8-pillar sort of program. So it's a compliance framework that's got 8 sections to it. And it's all about having clear leadership and oversight over AI. So there's a clear owner of what you're doing in your business. And that means internal in the marketplace and how we're selling AI tools, having a really clear vision on what you want to use AI for in all of those sectors. Leaning into the cybersecurity element, because there's things like data classification and access control that are incredibly important when it comes to, because these tools have access to things that we might not know we have access to. Having records of how you're using AI and then building up this whole sort of policy structure around it so that the business knows how to use it and how to adopt a responsible AI. The thing that makes us, what we're trying to do, it's a little bit more ahead of that, is be really transparent and building trust with our partners. So we're being really vocal on, this is our compliance framework. It's on our trust center. It's on our website live so that any partner and any customer can go and see it so they can see what we're doing and hopefully inspire them to do something similar so that they're really getting ahead of it. And then training up the business and we train up our partners. We've got academy content and things like that so that we've got just this open dialogue on how we're using AI and data in the business, because that in itself is how you build the trust. And for us, it's all about building trust with our partners, not just for them, but for their customers as well, so that when they talk about Pax8 in our marketplace, they know that it's being built in a way that's responsible and thinking about all of these things and really helping them to do the same.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of like ethical business frameworks that it sounds like it would come into play. So tell us more about the 8 pillars. I'm sure we can go to a website and we can read it. But what ones do you want partners to know about the most, and like as they work with you all?
Yeah, so I've talked about a few like leadership and oversight and having a vision. They're super important. We have a chief AI officer, Eric Stevens, who is fantastic. And just having that single person or team that's responsible for AI is so important because you need control over it, right? One of the big difficulties that we've had is a lot of the tools that you already use are switching on AI functionality, and sometimes they don't even tell you about it. So you might be a business that thinks you don't use AI, but actually there's a tool that switched something on that you didn't know about. So having somebody sort of keeping an eye on those things and feeding it back into the people responsible for AI is really important. Having a record of how you're using AI is so, so important, because all the pieces of legislation that come in, you're not going to be able to respond to those if you don't know what you're doing with AI in the business. So just having that sort of single person as responsible, a record of all the things that you're doing so that you can pull the right levers when legislation comes in is really important. And then monitoring the legislation, right? Every partner is going to be sort of under a different umbrella of what applies to them, depending on where their customers are, where their partners are, where the data comes from, what industry they're in. So just be mindful and keep an eye out for it. Really if you visit our trust center, you'll see what our compliance framework looks like. And that's just really setting you up to kind of get ready for all of that stuff coming in. Whether you use that or a version of it, nothing's going to replace getting your own sort of support for implementing your own program, but it's just getting you thinking about some of the foundational stuff so you're ready.
Yeah, that's good. Is there anything else that you would like partners to know about Pax8, the marketplace, compliance in general, or AI? I guess really, actually, before we go there, a question. Do you think AI is going to take over our jobs? So what would you say to someone who is like, it's going to take my job, or I'm just afraid to use it, or I want to see how it goes first? It's been a fast 18 months and we're trying to all catch up, I guess.
First of all, I don't know about you, but I don't know many people who are completely on top of their to-do list, i.e. smashing it. I've got nothing to do at the end of the day, right? We've all got a ton of stuff that we don't get to. So for me, AI is about getting your head back above the water because it's taking the edge off some of those more administrative tasks that you might have to do so that you can then shift your focus on the more strategic value add things that actually require human brain and humans think about. But again, with the support of AI, I think what I love to do and what we're doing in our legal team is, we might ask AI to do a first draft of a policy, right? That doesn't mean that's the policy that goes live. That just means your brain starts working like, and then you become an editor, right? So you're then working on that piece rather than creating it from nothing. There's nothing worse than staring at a blank page trying to get something started, right? So you get that.
As a writer, it's the scariest thing, but
right.
Yes.
But it's so much easier to work from something. So you get that first draft and then you can carry on. So I think that there's so much more efficiency and productivity that can come from using AI. And I think anyone who embraces it and uses it is going to be that much better at what they do, that they're really going to be along for the ride, right? So I think actually not embracing AI is probably more risky than embracing it, because actually there's so many efficiencies in it. And typically it's the most frustrating parts of your job that it can help with. So I would say experiment with it, play with it, see what you can do with it. And you'll be surprised how quickly you become converted to the innovation and like the excitement around what you could do with AI supporting you for some of those really boring tasks and other creative tasks that you might not get to otherwise.
Yeah, thank you for humanizing the fact that we don't all get through our to-do list every day. I think there's this fallacy that people are just like, the day's over and I did everything I want, or even the week is over, I did everything I wanted to do. But I don't know about you, but I am turning that page in my notebook and writing the things from the week before on the top of the next week. And it just kind of keeps going like that.
Absolutely.
And I do think you're 100% correct. Understanding the ways to use it for efficiency versus relying on it as the only draft is going to put people ahead. And I see it as a added assistant. It's only as good as as the person using it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And one of the ways we enable AI and Copilot within Pax8 is we're all learning from each other, whether it's a prompt library or just different use cases, and sharing those stories, I think, is really important, because you just get everyone's sort of imagination going on how they can make their day easier with that use case. So I think just keep experimenting, keep sharing within your teams and your businesses on how you're using it, and you'll be surprised at how much more efficient and productive we can all be.
That's great. Okay, so now the question that I was going to ask before. Is there anything else that you would like our listeners to know about the marketplace, about Pax8, about compliance? Your one hot take, like that everybody needs to be thinking about this?
Yeah, I would say for me, the biggest thing is that transparency and building trust in how we in the marketplace are using data and AI to be better at what we do. And this isn't about pretending that a robot is a human, right? This is about being really open on, actually, we use AI for these purposes and it makes these things better, and being really transparent about it and building that trust, because there is a distrust, right, in AI. And I think breaking that down and being really honest and having that integrity on how you're using it in a responsible way is critical. And that's why we're being over and above with our transparency on what we're trying to do with AI. And we're going to keep adding to our trust center and our sort of website so that people can stay in the loop of what Pax8 is doing in the marketplace with AI.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for all the information that you've shared and for the work that you're doing in the marketplace. So it's been great talking to you. And I look forward to seeing you in person real soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Cass.
Thank you for watching Channel Women in Security from CRN TV. Be sure to subscribe for more stories from the women who are shaping cybersecurity, breaking barriers, and making their mark on the channel ecosystem.